Hello, welcome to Book Bites with Maggie. I'm Maggie Carr. I'm the Youth Services Assistant here at Napanee Public Library. On today's episode of Book Bites, we're going to be talking about the theme of books that have characters that give back. In today's episode, all of our books are dealing with giving back. That can mean a lot of different things, everything from philanthropic storylines to giving back resources other than monetary gifts. I have quite a few different genres represented in today's stack, so we're going to get jumping right in. This is the first one. Here is a book in translation. Hazel Pryor wrote How the Penguin Saved Veronica. She's also the author of Ellie and the Heartmaker, which is another book that we have here in our collection at Napanee Public Library. We currently have How the Penguin Saved Veronica as a book, and it's also available as an e-audio book that you have access to with your Napanee Public Library card. In this book, Veronica she's like in her mid-80s. She's got lots and lots of money. And in the opening scenes of this book, she's sitting in her home surrounded by all these magnificent things, and she's trying to decide what she wants to do with her money when she passes away. And lo and behold, the documentary comes on TV, and she is sitting there watching a research center share all the work that they're doing in Antarctica with a family of penguins. And they talk about how if you would like to donate and help us to continue our research, we would love to have you invest in our colony of penguins. And Veronica decides right then and there, that's what she wants to do with her money. And in order to distribute her money to them, she wants to go to Antarctica as a mid-80-year-old woman, and she wants to experience what the researchers do hands-on and in a personal way. And so you get the story of Veronica and her estranged nephew who are going to travel to Antarctica together. They're going to both kind of work through their crazy relationship. And there's also a mix-in storyline of some of Veronica's diaries. So you're going to get to understand more about why she is the way she is, why her family is so estranged from itself. And it's just a really good story. So it looks kind of like an easygoing story from the cover with the cartoon penguins on it, but it does have a lot of really great characters. It's a small cast of characters. You're thinking about a really small research center in Antarctica, so not a lot of characters, but they are so well developed that it makes for a really good story. So Veronica McCready is a great main character that you might enjoy if you are looking for a book about giving back. The next one that we have is not new to Book Bites. Mary Roach is a staff favorite around here at Napanee Public Library. She has written oodles and oodles of books. Our copy of Stiff, which is this one I'm holding up right here, is currently checked out, but we can put it on hold for you if you're interested. It is called The Curious Life of Human Cadavers. You kind of think back, why in the world would you read a story about dead people? But let me tell you, it is honestly hysterical. And you feel silly saying that a book about death can be funny, but her writing and her research and her authenticity and her voice gives you the feeling of you're learning and you're educating yourself about what happens to bodies after they're dead, but you get a whole array of emotions and your senses. She can describe what you're hearing, seeing, smelling, honestly, what you're tasting even, coming through the pages of her book. It's not super long, but it was written a couple of decades ago. So back in 2003, as you're reading about body farms and what it's like to donate your body to science and all these different ways that you can give back from your body to medical research after you're dead and all the benefits that it has to that, you're going to learn about that in the book, but you're also going to get the author's investigation of learning more about it herself through the pages of this book. So Stiff is available as a book, an ebook, and an e-audio book, and I'm really hoping that it's re-released soon with some updated topics. Because it's a little bit older and medical research does change. We all know that. In this one, the last couple chapters talk about horticultural burying, and now that's a thing. So that's a futuristic topic in this book, but now that it's a thing, what is the next thing that would come from scientific research and what happens to bodies after they're gone? I would love to see it updated on this one. So this is Stiff by Mary Roach, The Curious Lives of Human Cadavers. And she does have lots of other books too, so you might find those here in our collection as well. This cover here is going to probably pique your interest because everybody has seen that there's a movie out. Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson star in Marry Me, and it is a movie that is based on a webcomic. So that's where this comes in. This is the first printed volume that's based on an ongoing webcomic that you can read online. It is written by Bobby Crosby, and it does have the movie cover on the front, but I thought it was kind of interesting as I was reading this because I haven't watched the movie yet. But our main character in the book, Anna or Anastasia, she actually looks like this in the comic. Okay, so she's 25 years old, 24 years old, blonde hair, bluish green eyes, very young, and it's a romantic comedy graphic novel, if you will. And so in this one, the casting is very different from the movie. So it was kind of fun to read and to reimagine the way that the author expected it to be and then how it was cast when it was made into a movie. I'm not 100% sure if it is right in line and is perfectly lined up or not. But in this one, let's see. So the pop star, she is kind of fed up with her love life. She does not have a great relationship with her father. You kind of get the feels of like Britney Spears and how she was trying to break away from her father when you're reading this one. It kind of gives you some context. And she ends up marrying somebody in the audience. So that's Owen Wilson's character in the movie. In the book, he is Guy Cooper, and he is mid-20s guidance school counselor, and she accepts a marriage proposal to him without really knowing much about him. So as you're reading the book, again, this is just the first volume, so it really kind of just cuts off. I'm guessing there'll be more volumes that go from the web comic to like printed versions that we can add to our collection as well. But if you're looking for a fast read, something different, or if you do prefer to read a book before you watch the movie, this one is available as that. So Marry Me, this is again the first volume, and it is made into a movie. And it's very short, like this. The philanthropic storyline comes into how much money she makes and how she's trying to keep all that money from her dad, who just feels like it belongs to him. So she's taking all this money and she's trying to add hospitals to African tribal villages. So that storyline is a part of this book, and that's why it works great for our Book Bites theme today. My next story, or I guess it's a kind of a memoir, is The Moment of Lift by Melinda Gates. Very familiar name for most of our viewers today. Back in, I don't know, 2018, 2019, she was the third most powerful woman on Forbes' list of powerful women. You can really feel that in this book. She is not just somebody who has dollar signs in her eyes, but she believes from her very soul that empowering women comes from lifting them up from behind and not just throwing money at them. Inside of the jacket of this book, it says, for the past 20 years, Melinda Gates has been on a mission to find solutions for people all over the world using their most urgent needs wherever they live. Throughout this journey, one thing has been increasingly clear to her: if you want to lift society up, it needs to come from keeping women down. You need to eliminate the social dynamics between men and women and gender equality. There's lots of little stories in this about some of the initiatives and the programs that Melinda and the Gates Foundation has started. Again, this is a couple of years old, so Bill and Melinda are still married in this book. There are some moments where she talks about her marriage and the work that they do together inside of this. I would be interested to see if there is like kind of an updated version in a couple of years to see if she's able to maintain a lot of her philanthropic giving, even though they got divorced. So this is Empowering Women and Changing the World by Melinda Gates, The Moment of Lift. We have this one available as a book, an ebook, and an e-audiobook. And then the next one that I have, we've got like a memoir, we've got a graphic novel, we've got fiction, and we've got nonfiction. This one is historical fiction. So historical fiction is kind of a genre where it's going to take some truth to a storyline and it's going to twist it. So they might know specific things that are true to history. It could be a place, it could be a time, a moment, a war, all different types of things, but then they take what they know and they fluff around a story to make it humanizing. So Carnegie, if you're unfamiliar with who Carnegie is, Andrew Carnegie is a philanthropist. He has started a huge initiative with putting libraries, not only just with his foundation, but like libraries all over the United States. And so oftentimes when you go and you see libraries in their hometowns, they'll be called a Carnegie library. That means it was initially funded and built and put in place through Andrew Carnegie's works. So this story is based on that. Andrew Carnegie obviously has a huge steel company out on the East Coast, and he is extremely, extremely well off. Our storyline here from Marie Benedict, she is going to take a maid who is Irish. She wants to try to get home, but she is literally broke and she has no money. And she is going to take a woman who has been living with and supporting the Carnegie family in their massive home with their children, and she is going to put on a front and pretend to be this woman who is missing just so that she can make enough money to return back to Ireland. I listened to Carnegie's Maid as an audiobook. I liked that perspective because our main character, Clara, she's Irish, so our protagonist is going to have an Irish sounding narrator, which really added to the context of our book. Now, it's believed that Andrew Carnegie, he kind of sat on his money and he was not very forthcoming with it. He didn't give his money away until something happened. And that's where Marie Benedict is going to take some liberties. She believes that somebody in his personal life, somebody who may have worked in their home, like our character in this book, might have triggered why he started to give away his money and why he started to share his love with reading and giving books back to people all over the world by starting and establishing these libraries. So she's going to take that storyline where why he didn't give away his money to why he did, and she's going to take that. So historical fiction, again, it is totally from the author's imagination, but using historical context. Carnegie's Maid is available as a book, an ebook, and an e-audiobook. And I loved this quote here that I wrote on the back. Andrew Carnegie is the man who built this little free library and thousands more libraries with his own money. A man who gave the gift of books and education to every person, regardless of how much money they had. So you do get a real context of what Andrew Carnegie was like, his family, his children, his wife, through the eyes of this servant who is pretending to be somebody she's not. So that's Carnegie's Maid. And when I was researching some other books to talk about today, this one came up. This is a newer book to our Napanee Public Library collection. I haven't read it yet, but I'm super excited to read Madam C.J. Walker's The Making of an American Icon. I'll be honest, a year ago I had no idea who this woman was, but my daughter did a research topic on Madam C.J. Walker, and I was actually really intrigued by this woman who was married at 14 years old. She was widowed by the time she was 15 and remarried several times over the course of her life. But she took a hair tonic and created a massive empire and became one of the richest women in the United States, and definitely one of the richest African-American entrepreneurs during her time. And so I'm excited to read this story and to read more about her philanthropic work with the, what was the Boys and Girls Club before it was the Boys and Girls Club? I totally just lost it. It's like the International Boys Town. Is that what it is? She established something. I can't remember what it is now at the top of my head. Is that a biography? This is a biography, and actually it's a kid's biography, so it's not super long. It has some pictures in it, but from what I learned from my daughter's research project, this looks to be a really good book. So this one is going to be downstairs in our children's section, but we do have some other books about Madam C.J. Walker as well. So that is one I'm excited to read. We do have this available as an ebook on either Libby or Hoopla as well. On our next episode of Book Bites, we're going to be featuring books that are all about the arts. So think about books that have to do with artists, or books where the main character might be an artist or is inspired by art in their life, and we're going to bring all those books together with a co-host. Michaela's going to be joining me in September for that episode. If any of these books intrigued you or you'd be interested in putting them on hold, please let us know in the comments. If you've read other books about philanthropic storylines, please let us know. You can put those in the comments as well for other viewers to get a list of titles that might intrigue them. That's it for this episode of Book Bites. We hope to see you back here the next time. And until then, we're here at the library. Come on in and see us.